we've seen these escalations over the past 24, 48 hours regarding these attacks in Russia by Ukraine on strategic bombers, as well as this key transportation node, obviously a civilian node of the Kerch Strait Bridge. But flipping back to it and looking at the situation, the huge push is against Ukraine being in NATO and really a push for peace talks. Where does this all shake out? Why are we still seeing a massive push for World War III?
Oh my, yeah. Wow, you just have so much in that question. Why are we seeing the push in the end? Because we are seeing neocons mourn over the prospect of their dying liberal international order. And NATO is intrinsic to that order. NATO is more or less the globalist police force that enforces the order that comes from the three major global institutions of the IMF. Seems that the people that were interviewed would agree, but became Yanukovych government with the Maidan Revolution. And so there really isn't an independent Kiev responding to the will of the people. It's just a puppet of this larger globalist matrix that Trump is basically shattering as we speak. He's called repeatedly NATO obsolete. He's consigning the WTO to total obsolescence with the emergence of his bilateral trade agreements and tariff policies and the like. The IMF isn't playing much of a role anymore. The World Bank isn't playing much of a role. So what's the only way you could try to resurrect the relevance of these institutions? Trigger Article 5. That will somehow get NATO and supposedly the world it guards, this liberal international order, back resurrected. And so I think they're trying to goad Putin into bombing a NATO country and at least putting Article 5 on the table. I don't think he's going to bite. I don't think he's going to take it. And I don't think most Europeans buy into this. I think they recognize, as you just Kevin demonstrated there, I think they recognize that when they're dealing with Zelensky and Ukraine, they're not dealing with an actual democratic country. Heck, I don't even, when's the last time they had an election? What, 2019? They're not dealing with a democratic country. They're dealing with a proxy for globalist interests.
And this is what it's all about, because we've seen this rejection of globalism now in Poland, huge rejections of globalism in Hungary, obviously here in the United States, a massive rejection of globalism. But President Trump's election was also predicated on this idea of ending the march towards World War III. And yet we still see many of these elements within, whether it be the intelligence community, whether it be elements of the military industrial complex in the United States, or really the Five Eyes community writ large, which, and I'm going viral now for a clip I did on War Room yesterday with Steve Bannon, saying that there's no way that Ukraine would be able to carry out these bombing campaigns, especially these deep targets within Russia, without the knowledge or perhaps and likely the coordination of the Five Eyes intelligence apparatus, because that's the only way you could get the strategic real-time targeting information that you would need, only provided by satellites. And only the US and the UK have access to that and capability of that kind of technology. Unless Starlink is, they all secretly have cameras on them, and maybe Elon's just helping them on the side. I don't think so. But Dr. Turley, do you view this as a potential wedge and attempt to break down these peace talks?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I saw that spot on the War Room. I think I even retweeted it. It was brilliant. Yeah, I do. Because the peace talks mean the end of the liberal international order. Because these peace talks, I think we all recognize, these are going to be settled on Russia's terms. Russia is going to keep 20% of the territory. There's no way around. They've got the Donbass, they've got Kherson, they've got Zaporozhye, and of course they've got Crimea. That's not going away. And the European leaders from, well, originally Boris Johnson, now to Keir Starmer, Macron, they're all saying no. At the beginning, they were all saying, no, we could even get Crimea. We're going to take Crimea back. It's all nonsense. It's all, I mean, Russia has fortified itself in 20% of Ukraine for right or for wrong. I'm being purely descriptive, not prescriptive. That is just the reality of it. If we're conservatives, we want to deal with reality, right? And so I think that Trump has made exactly what you said. He was not voted in to escalate this conflict. He was voted in to de-escalate it. And unfortunately, I think you're right. I think there's so many neocon, Cold War mentality, forces within the deep state and within the military-industrial complex to basically do what they can to try to prevent that from happening. If they could stretch this out another 4 years and maybe get a Democrat in, maybe they can try to reignite this liberal international order. But as far as I see it, it's over. It's dead. It's gone. It's gone from the hearts and minds of the vast majority of Westerners. It's gone. It's certainly gone as far as China is concerned, or Russia is concerned, India is concerned. Increasingly, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates. And I think it's a matter of time before it'll be gone in Washington, D.C. But until then,
and Dr.
how
Turley,
much damage are they going to do in the meantime?
Well, I think that's right. And we're up against a quick break here. But one of the interesting, and we'll talk about this in the next segment, one of the interesting takeaways I think I have from President Trump's recent dust-up with the South Africans is that Trump, I think, instinctively understands, obviously he cares about the specific issue of the genocide that's taking place in South Africa, but also he's looking at the world through the new lens of multipolarity. Who is the greatest potential parallel structure to the West? Well, it's BRICS. And who is, of course, the weakest link in BRICS? It's South Africa. So that's why he's targeting them. There's a key geostrategic element to all of this that I think everyone's missing, that this is a way for him to, now, is he going as hard as he could? No, but he's certainly picking at a wound that he knows will create issues for the Chinese, will create issues for the Russians as well. Why? Because he's locked in negotiations with both of them. People don't look at these things in multiple dimensions, but that's always been one of President Trump's strengths, multi-dimensional thinking. That if you target the South Africans and put pressure on them, that it indirectly creates leverage on China and Russia as well, because remember, the S in BRICS is South Africa.